Hello everyone and welcome back to my channel. Today we're going to be doing a very fun video. We're going to be answering you guys' bookish questions that you asked me in the comment section on YouTube, TikTok and Instagram, and I hope you enjoy and stick around to find out some more about what bookish things I like. So we're going to be answering you guys' questions while I get ready. Excuse the state of me. I'm getting ready to go to Dublin. It is 10 o'clock in the morning in Cork. Thank God. It's actually not thank God that this author event is quite late, but at the same time it is, because it's unreal that like I didn't have to get up at the arse crack of dawn to make it to an event in Dublin. And I will be travelling back with one of the girls also. So I'm meeting one of the girls up there, and I will also have someone to travel back with, which is amazing. But anyway, enough of my rambling on. I thought what better time than while I'm getting ready for the event than to answer all your bookish questions. You guys, ye sent so many. I expected none, and I got scared. And then yeah, but ye sent a lot, so it's going to be interesting. And none of the questions overlapped either, which I think is unreal, because it would be a very boring video if everyone asked the same questions. So I asked on my TikTok, Instagram and YouTube for questions, and everyone sent me on, I think I have about like 15, 20 questions. So we'll just start with the first one, which is top 3 favourite tropes. My top 3 favourite tropes. It's a hard one, but I think I'm going to have to go with Grumpy Sunshine, Enemies to Lovers, and Childhood Friend to Lovers. Not just friends to lovers. I like the whole childhood aspect. I like when they've known each other a really long time and you can really see the emotional connection built between the characters. Sometimes I will admit it is annoying when the characters just don't communicate, and they could have been together for years, but because they didn't communicate with one another, they weren't together. So that's when it gets annoying. But other than that, it is perfect. It is perfect. Those are the 3 tropes I love the most. If they're in the book that I'm reading, I know it's going to be a fun time. So that's my top 3 favourite tropes. As of right now, look, that could all change depending. Like, I could find a book with a trope I've never seen before and become absolutely obsessed. But those 3 have just never, ever seemed to fail me. So yeah, that's that question, my favourite tropes. The next one is which FMC would you say I'm most like? I've never been told I am like any FMC. I don't like to think I'm like any of them. Not that I'm like any of them. I don't want to compare myself to any of them, because I feel like people will be like, she thinks really highly of herself if she's comparing herself to this person. I have gotten Bree from Archer's Voice before. I have gotten Elaine from ACOTAR, which, that's not nice. You're saying I'm boring. Those are the 2 I've gotten. The characters I would like to be the most like, I feel, is a better way to answer this question, because it's like, I know I'm not these characters, but these are the ones, if I could be like anyone, I would love to be like them. So I'd love to be like Nesta. I love Nesta. Not that I'd love to be like Nesta. I resonate with Nesta the most. Her personality, she's so complex. I feel like I am also very, very similar to her in ways. She has very emotional reactions to things and can get quite upset, and when she feels misunderstood, which I feel a lot of the time. So I not agree, but I feel like her in that sense. She's the one I resonate with the most. I don't know, like, I love to say I resonate with someone really bloody cool, like Willa Grant, or like someone like that. I'd love to be able to say that, like, I am them, but I feel like I am just Nesta through and through. She's a hard character, and people hate her, and that's fine. But I personally, I've never related with a character as much as I relate to Nesta. But you can comment below and tell me what energy you think I give. But I've been told Bree and Elaine, which on further reflection, Elaine is rude. Not rude, but like giving me that as a person is rude. But anyway, this actually leads on quite well into the next question, which is if you could be one FMC, who are you picking and why? I would... Oh God, this is actually quite hard. I would love to say Magnolia from Magnolia Parks, but I feel like I actually resonate more with like Chestnut Springs characters. I would love to live their life in the countryside, in the, the wilderness, on the farm, all that. So I would have to go with any of the Chestnut Spring women because they're all in Chestnut Springs. So any one of them I would love to be. Obviously, like, I don't want to say I would love to be Shannon from Boys of Tommen because Shannon obviously has a very traumatic life and a very traumatic experience. But I do love Shannon so much. I would love to be Shannon in certain aspects. I would love to be Shannon in certain aspects. Obviously not with the seriousness of what goes on in the book. That's not what I mean. But I would enjoy being in the world of Boys of Tommen. And so yeah, that if I had to pick one to say like I could definitely live in that world and be happy, let's say, would be Chestnut Springs. But if I'm going through the trauma and it's fine, it would be Boys of Tommen because I just resonate with that book a lot. As living in Cork, living in Ireland, it's a very unique experience, I feel, living in Ireland. And Chloe Walsh managed to capture it absolutely perfectly, what it's like growing up as a teenager in Ireland. So yeah, I won't harp on too much about it, because if I harp on too much about it, I'll start crying. So we're not going to harp on too much about it. Okay, so the next one is... what two characters from different books do you reckon would get into a scrap? If there's any Americans out there, a scrap means a fight. Just in case. But two characters from two different books. This is a hard one. I should have thought about this really before I started filming, but I'm trying to go through series in my head where I'm like... I don't want to go through series that have a crossover because obviously there's a lot of books that like interconnect. So I don't want to pick one of the interconnected series. I want to pick something that's not connected, that aren't connected to each other. Jesus, I can't get the words out today. I'm very tired because I was picking up my sister at 2 a.m. last night. At 1 a.m. last night. So I'm very tired. But what could two characters? Okay. I feel like BJ, or will I say Christian? This is so hard. Sorry, I'm going on a tangent. I'm just talking to myself. I'm not even talking to ye because I'm trying to think. Do you know when someone is like, when they ask you for directions and then you can't remember any direction you've ever went in your life? That's what's happening right now. I cannot remember any character of any book I have ever read right now. It's after going away from me. God, I went with Julian because I know Julian's a bit feisty. Not Julian, sorry. I went with BJ because I know BJ's a bit feisty. So I could see him getting into a fight with someone over Magnolia. And I'm trying to think of a character that would like be cocky enough to try it with Magnolia. Oh, I have it. And it's actually nothing to do with Magnolia Parks now. I literally just thought about it. So I feel like Aaron, he's not a main character, an icebreaker, but he's an annoying character. I feel like he would get into a scrap. No, because that's not it either. I want character. Joey. I'm going very weird. I've named about 10 different characters now. I feel like Joey from Joey Lynch, the big Lynch brother, is going to get in a scrap with Christian. And it's going to be very much a case of like Joey is going to land Christian on his little bum. Sorry to Christian. I've become a Christian hater lately. I don't know why, but I've become a Christian hater lately. I'm not hate's a very strong word. I don't hate you, Christian. I just don't particularly like you as a character. I find that looking back on Magnolia Parks, I'm like, he's actually VV boring. VV boring. Daisy needs someone way more fun than him. But anyway, that's a side tangent. I feel like if Joey wasn't with Aoife and he tried talking to Daisy, that would cause a massive fight with Christian. So I'm just making up complete hypotheticals here. But yeah, that's what I'm going to go with. I'm going to go with that because if I don't go with something, I will be here till tomorrow trying to pick characters. And we need to go into the next. So the next question is, which book would you like to see made into a film? It says film, but I'm going to go film or TV show because I find obviously not every book would adapt very well into a movie. Some books obviously will adapt better to a TV show format. And I would love to see Boys of Tommen. I would love to see Boys of Tommen adapted into a TV show. Not a movie. It needs a TV show. And like, I feel like each season we should follow the different characters. But it needs to be actually filmed in Ireland. It needs to be filmed in Cork. It needs to be directed by someone Irish. And it also needs to have an Irish cast. Because I feel like if the Americans get their hands on it, it's going to become all Americanized. So I feel like it needs to be wholly Irish, like fully Irish, like the whole way through. Casting, directing, I just feel like, not now obviously there are people with great experience from different countries, but I just feel that someone, particularly either directing or producing it, needs to be Irish because they need to have that understanding of Ireland. Particularly someone who grew up in the early 2000s would be amazing, or was a teenager in the early 2000s. We need that. But yeah, Boys of Tommen. And if not Boys of Tommen, I would pick Gossip Girl. Gossip Girl would be my next one that I would love. That's not... No. I said Gossip Girl. And you know why I said Gossip Girl? Because I was thinking of Magnolia Parks. So, no. I would love Magnolia Parks as a backup to be made into a TV show. Again, I don't think it can be a movie. It has to be a TV series. And look, we'll throw a third one in there while we're at it because I might as well. I was going to say Good Girls Guide to Murder, but it's already been in production and it already had its first season. And they are currently filming season 2 as far as I know. But Chestnut Springs. Chestnut Springs needs to be adapted. It needs to be picked up. I don't care by who. It would literally be a perfect TV series. It would literally be amazing. But again, I find with book to TV adaptations, you always end up losing a bit of substance with the characters. You always end up losing little bits of the story that do make it a lot harder to handle. Like, I watched Daisy Jones and the Six about a week ago with my boyfriend for the first time. He'd never seen it and I finally convinced him to watch it, and it was my second time watching it. And as I was watching it back the second time, I obviously noticed the things that were different the first time. But again, watching it the second time, I was like, they really changed certain things. But no, one of the closest book to TV adaptations I've ever seen, in fairness. Like, they did stick as much to the story as possible, but there were certain things that they changed, and I was like, why did we change this? There was no need for it. Like, it didn't take away from the substance of the story. Sorry, not the substance of the story, but like, it didn't... There was no need to take it out of the story, because it's not like it was a massive plot line. You could have just left it in there, kind of thing. But yeah, I would love to see Boys of Tommen, Magnolia Parks, or Chestnut Springs. One of the three. And I would love to like be not involved with the Boys of Tommen, but I'd love to be on the set while they're doing it. I'd love it. Oh, it would be amazing. Now, the next one is, if you could live in a book world, what one would it be? I feel like I'm going to be very boring. Boys of Tommen. I want to live in Boys of Tommen. That's all I want is, well, am I technically living Boys of Tommen right now? I'm not technically living Boys of Tommen, but like, I am in Cork. So yeah, well, actually no, we'll take Boys of Tommen away from it, because I feel like I'll answer Boys of Tommen to everything like this if I do. So I will actually go with Chestnut Springs. If I had to pick one that wasn't Boys of Tommen, it would be Chestnut Springs, 110%. I would love to live in a small town on a farm in Wishing Well Ranch. Sorry, I was like, I couldn't remember the name of it for a second. So yeah, we're going to go with Chestnut Springs. The next question is, favourite book boyfriend. Now, this is a really hard one. Like, I say Johnny Kavanagh is my top book boyfriend, but at the end of the day, he's 18. So we're going to move on from that. And we're going to give my backup answer, which is Zayden Ryerson. Zayden Ryerson. I never not think about that man. I was wearing a t-shirt yesterday that literally says probably thinking about Zayden Ryerson, and I was. So yeah, Zayden Ryerson, that's who we're going to go with. He is my number 2. He will always be my number 2. I haven't found anyone that compares to him so far, but I will say that obviously reading the Powerless trilogy, I am beginning to love Kai a lot more than I like Reese. And I didn't think that would ever happen, but it has. So yeah, my favourite book boyfriend is Zayden Ryerson. Would be Johnny Kavanagh, but Johnny Kavanagh, Johnny Kavanagh is my favourite male character. But yeah, that's what we're going to go with. The next one is, what were your favourite books when you were younger? I actually only thought about this the other day. I used to love the Rainbow Magic Fairy books. I was in a charity shop then the other day, and I happened to see Jacqueline Wilson's books. And I forgot how much I used to love Jacqueline Wilson. And I think her name is Judy Curtin. I think it's Judy Curtin. I'll insert some pictures of their books here, Jacqueline Wilson and Judy Curtin's. But they were my childhood. Again, there was also other books that I read in school. I was a big history nerd all the way through primary school. And I loved these books by I can't remember the name of the author, but it's like Once Then and Now or something like that is the name of the series. And I absolutely was obsessed with them in primary school. And The Wreck of the Zanzibar by Michael Monporgo is, oh my bloody god, it is such a beautiful story. I think it's about this, is it a girl? I can't remember now the whole facts of it. But I think it's about a girl, is it her grandmother dies? And she's reading like the story of her life. I can't remember exactly. I have it. I bought it secondhand just to have a copy because it was like literally, it was my childhood. I loved it so much. So yeah, those are my top ones. The Rainbow Magic Fairy books, the Judy Curtin and Jacqueline Wilson books, and the Wreck of the Zanzibar by Michael Monporgo, and the World War II books, which I'll insert all of the ones that are like kind of obscure and you might know in the corner here, sorry. What's your all-time favourite book? Ellen is the person that asked this question. Ellen. You just asked the hardest question in the history of the world, but like, my favourite book of all time is Keeping 13. The found family in that book the way the characters interact with each other. I love Binding 13, do not get me wrong, I absolutely love it. I love Binding 13. But Keeping 13 just has so much more depth, so much more emotional sides to it. Now, I will say, not that the only reason I think this book has such an emotional effect on me, but it does contribute to it 100%. I was reading Keeping 13, sorry. I was reading The Fire, what happened with the fire. So I was reading that when my nan was passing away in the hospital. The day before she passed, I remember I came home that evening and I was doing some reading because we all got sent home. All the kids got sent home, like the grandkids, and so I was doing some reading, and I remember reading that scene, and I remember reading the aftermath of it for Shannon, and Here Comes the Sun by the Beatles comes on, and I can't listen to Here Comes the Sun by the Beatles anymore. Obviously, I associate it with Boys of Tommen, but I associate it with my nan passing away. Because that's what I was going through at the time that I was reading it. So that is my favourite book of all time, because it really it stuck with me. It's like, the book is just... It's imprinted on me. Like, that's what it's done. It's imprinted on me, and I feel like I will never, ever, ever read anything that compares to it. Like, I think about Johnny and Shannon, Joey and Aoife, Gibbsy and Claire, Katie and Hughie, Patrick, Lizzie, all of them. I think about all those characters daily. On the daily, I think about those characters. I never don't think about them. So it actually leads well into the next question, which is, if you could only reread one Boys of Tommen book forever, which would you choose? That's like asking who's your favourite child. The honest answer is I have none. But I will say, as I said a while ago, Keeping 13 is really, really important to me, and it's an emotional read. But I do feel like in Redeeming 6, I'm not going to lie, we get a more well-rounded, like, obviously Keeping 13 is mainly Shannon's story, but you get kind of some of the other characters coming in and out of it because it's a friend group. So, which is fine. But I feel like in Redeeming 6, it's like the full crossover, Hannah Montana, Sweet Life on Deck, Wizards of Waverly Place. Like, everyone is in Redeeming 6, and everyone has a part to play in Redeeming 6. So I think for the whole, like, wraparound experience, I personally love Redeeming 6. But if I had to pick my close second, it would be Keeping 13. But Redeeming 6 is absolutely brilliant. The next one is, tell me a book that's actually worth the hype. Fantasy, romantasy, and romance. Okay, so I don't read strict fantasy, so I will not be able to answer that question. I am so sorry. I will not be able to give a solely fantasy recommendation, because if there's no romance in it, I cannot read it. So that's what we're going to say with that. So I don't have a fantasy one. Romantasy, I feel like I'm going to get cancelled if I say certain things, or if I say a certain book. Romantasy, I'm going to go with Fourth Wing, but specifically Fourth Wing, like the first book in the Empyrean series, because we really started off strong there. Like, Fourth Wing took the world by absolute storm. I have never seen a book be so wildly loved. Now, I know people have feelings about Onyx Storm and they have feelings about Iron Flame. That's fine. But universally, Fourth Wing is loved by so many people. I think it's worth the hype. I do. I will never not recommend Fourth Wing. Iron Flame, okay, fair enough, it's okay. Onyx Storm is a filler book. We know it's a filler book, guys. She didn't even need to say it. We know it. But nothing... I've not read a fantasy romance book or a romantasy that has given me the same feelings. Maybe actually the Powerless trilogy is another series that has given me the same feelings. Powerless specifically, and at the moment Fearless, they're giving me the same feelings I had when I read Fourth Wing for the first time. So those would be my recommendations: the Powerless trilogy and the first book in the Empyrean series. Now I will say, because my friend Maria read the... What did she read? She read the Powerless, but she had read... What is the name of it? Red Queen by... Is it Victoria Award? Or... Is that her name? I'll get the right name and I'll put it there. But that series, and she said that she read that a week before she read Powerless, and it kind of ruined Powerless because they are apparently very, very similar. I don't know because I haven't read the Red Queen series, so I cannot tell you that it is that when it's not. Sorry, not that it is when it's not, but I don't know, so I cannot say, and I'm not going to say that they're the same, but there has been a lot of speculation online that they are very, very similar. But I absolutely love the Powerless trilogy, and I have not read the Red Queen series, so it has not affected my reading experience of it, thank God. But yeah, I would recommend the Powerless trilogy and Fourth Wing as your like romantic type of reads, and then the last one is romance. So romance, worth the hype. I was going to say Boys of Tommen, but Boys of Tommen isn't solely a romance. I genuinely feel like Boys of Tommen is actually like a slice of life book, and you get like snippets of romance and relationships. It's just like, it's like reading a TV show. It's like reading a story of their lives. Like, you're getting everything. You're not just getting their relationships. You're getting like things that they're struggling with their family, things they're struggling with friendships, things they're struggling with in relationships. So if I had to say like a solely type of romance book, I would say Heartless or Powerless from the Chestnut Spring series. I think they're absolutely worth the hype. A lot of people don't like Jasper. I love Jasper. They're both up there. You can see them. I have the mirror covers. I bought them after they printed. After they came out, after they stopped printing them. And I had to pay a whopping €75 just to get those two. But I wanted those two because Heartless and Powerless are my favourite in the series. So those are the ones that I would recommend. Now, I have like 8 more questions or 9 more questions. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to finish my makeup and come back and answer them ones, because I'm already talking for the last 28 minutes and I have barely any of my makeup done, and I need to be out of the house in an hour. So I will come back once my makeup is done, and we will answer the rest of these questions that this person took so much effort. They wrote 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. There were 10 questions. So on top of the ones I've already gotten off the TikTok and stuff, the TikTok, I sound very old there, that I've gotten off TikTok, I also have those 10. So when I'm ready, I will answer those 10. Those 10 are from YouTube, and the ones that we just answered are all from TikTok. So I will be back once I am fully ready. I'm back, everyone, to answer the rest of the questions, because I am in a bit of a rush. It's currently 11:10. I need to leave the house in 20 minutes, so I won't be finishing my makeup on camera. I am just going to answer the rest of the questions. So yeah, I'm going to answer the rest of them. So the next question I got was, what are your top 5 books? Now, it doesn't specify if it's a series that it's my favourite series, or is it just favourite book of all time. So I'm actually just going to go through and pick like, not full series, I'm going to pick like books within a series. So the first one, which is going to be no surprise, is Keeping 13. So Keeping 13 is my number 1 book of all time. Next, we're going to go with Magnolia Park's Into the Dark or The Long Way Home. Into the Dark. We're going to go Into the Dark. Magnolia Park's Into the Dark. Daisy Hates The Great Undoing. How many is that? Is that 3? Do I have 3 so far? Fourth Wing, the first in the Empyrean series. And I need to think of a 5th one that like has stayed with me and at the moment is like a favourite book. Do you know what I'm actually going to say? At the moment, because it is a new release and it is a favourite book at the moment that I cannot stop thinking about, and everyone's talking about it, but I read it ages ago, is, what's it called? The Favourites. It is one of my favourites, and it is called The Favourites by Lane Fargo. It came out this year. If you are looking for something that kind of gives similar to Daisy Jones and the Six, not in the substance of the story, but the way it's told with the interview style technique throughout, it is really, really well done. Lane Fargo really, really outdid herself with this book. It's absolutely amazing. I cannot talk highly enough of it. So they are, is that 5? Did I say 5? Keeping 13. Yes, I did say 5. That's 5. So that's the first one. What books would you recommend for 13 to 17? I find this very hard because someone did comment on one of my YouTube videos asking, is Boys of Tommen suitable for 13 to 17 year olds? I don't think it is very suitable personally. My niece is 14 and I wouldn't want her reading it because it's quite graphic. It's not the easiest book to read. It's by no way, shape or form. Like, it's very, very difficult to read. I find it hard to recommend books to that age group because I am not in that age group anymore and I never read during that age group. Like, I know a lot of people from the ages of 13 to 17 will say that they've read The Hunger Games, Percy Jackson, John Green books like Looking for Alaska, The Fault in Our Stars, Percy Jackson, Divergent. So they're ones that I probably would recommend for that age group, but I don't specifically have books that I would recommend because I wasn't reading at that age. Well, I was, but I'd kind of gone away from reading for a while. So I wouldn't necessarily know what would be suitable. If I think of any other ones, I'll insert them on the screen. But like, I would say those are good ones to start with because loads of people love The Hunger Games, Percy Jackson, all that. So they would be good ones to start with, definitely. The next question is, what YA books would you recommend? See, I find this hard because there's a lot of books that are in the YA section that I don't think should be in the YA section because of the content that they deal with. And like, you're probably like, Jordyn, what do you know? Like, you're not a mother, you don't have kids. I'm a youth worker. I work with young people. I know the way they are mentally. I know everyone's different. Obviously, like, my niece is very, very mature for her age, but then I meet some 14-year-olds who act like 7 or 8-year-olds. So it's honestly dependent on the person. Like, it says young adult. I feel like I've gone off on a tangent now because I was talking about what books I would recommend to 13 to 17-year-olds. But what YA books I would recommend if you are an adult, Boys of Tommen. I think you need to be 17, 18 to be reading those books, I'm not going to lie. Because they are quite graphic and they are quite hard reading. I don't think my niece could read them and be okay. Like, I read them when I wasn't okay and I'm 26. So yeah, there are the books, Boys of Tommen for YA. Lynn Painter does very, very good YA books, better than the movies is YA. And Nothing Like the Movies is YA. I'm trying to think, is there any other books that she has that are YA or suitable for young adult? I'm trying to think of young adult authors, to be honest. I know technically Holly Jackson's books are YA. A Good Girl's Guide to Murder. I really, really enjoyed that. As an adult, I really enjoyed it. So I think younger people or new adults or young adults will enjoy it. Fantasy with YA, like Powerless is like the Powerless trilogy is technically YA. And the Shatter Me series is YA. Basically, the books that are like Closed Door, No Spice are suitable for YA, I personally think. If you are on the younger side, but if you're on the older side, like, there's new adult books, which is the next question, is what new adult books would I recommend? And I cannot think of any off the top of my head because I don't know off the top of my head what's classed as new adult and young adult. So if I'm going to look some up, and if there's some I recommend, I'll put them around here so that you can see. It says, what's my favourite genre? The nehave question is, what's my favourite genre? So I would have to say romance through and through. I'm a romance girly, will always go back to romance. I would have, like, if you would ask me 2 years ago, 3 years ago, I probably would have said, like, non-fiction now. We're saying romance. Yeah, romance is just one that I always feel like I can go into. If you're sad, a little silly romance. If you're in a book slump after reading like a high fantasy or a thriller, a romance is great for that. If you're wanting, like if you're in the romance mood, like not romance mood, but if you're in like, it just works for everything. Romance just, I feel like romance just works no matter what the reason is that you're reading it. Romance just works. So that has to be my favourite genre, is 100% romance. Which is crazy to me because if you'd asked me that years ago, I wouldn't have said that. But now it is one of my favourites. The next one is, if you had to live without your favourite genre, which one would you settle for? So if I had to live without romance, I would settle for fantasy. It would have been thrillers a while back, but I've gotten into my fantasy era and I kind of want to stay there. But particularly, it's all romantasy that I'm reading. It's not like I'm not reading high stakes fantasy books. I'm reading romantasy books because I need the romance. The romance needs to be there to keep me going, lads. It needs to be there to keep me in the story. So yeah, I would say I would go for romantasy. If I couldn't have romance, I would go for romantasy. And then if I couldn't have romantasy, I would try high stakes fantasy, because like sometimes thrillers can be quite boring, or like mysteries. So I would stick with the fantasy romance side of things. Next is, what bookstore do I go to? What bookstores do I go to? So I'm from Cork, so my normal bookstores that I would go to quite regularly would be Vibes and Scribes in Cork City. After that, I would go to like Eason's, Waterstones that we have, or Dubray. We're very limited with the amount of book shops that we have. I do go to some smaller bookshops. I would go to a bookshop in Fermoy called Fermoy Books, and I go to Middleton. I've been to Middleton Books, and I've bought some books from there. I like to support independent shops as much as possible, because like people will always say, oh, it's so much more expensive to buy a book like in an independent bookshop, but that's because they're independent. They're not a big chain. They're not a big franchise. So like, I love going, particularly for new releases, I will always either go to Vibes and Scribes or Middleton Books or Fermoy Books and try and get them there, because I work in those areas. So I go to those areas to pick up my books if I can. Now, in saying that, a lot of the time, some independent bookshops will not stock all the books because it's expensive to stock all those books if you don't know if you're going to have the clientele for it. So like, I went in yesterday to one of the shops, one of the local bookshops, to try and get The Winners by Frederick Bachman, but they didn't have it. But like, if you ask them, they will order it. They will order it for you and they'll bring it in. Like, just like they'll bring in a copy for you. But I don't like to do that too often. But yeah, I like to support independent bookshops. And then obviously I go to the big chains. Like today now, because I'm going to Dublin, I will go to Hodges and Figgis. I'll go to Hodges and Figgis today. Because that's one that we don't have in Cork, but it's like our version of, what was I told? It's our version of like Waterstones, or like Cork's version of Dubray. No, not Dubray. It's Waterstones. It's Cork's version. It's Dublin's version of Waterstones, because I don't think Dublin has Waterstones as far as I'm aware. No, I could be making that up. And then obviously the Works, because they do cheap books. Not cheap, but as in significantly reduced compared to like the mainstream shops. So like, they're the main ones I go to. I do love going to a charity shop to find books. I have had great success in charity shops and secondhand shops with finding books. So yeah, I go to a lot. I will, if there's books in the shop, I will go in there, basically, is what I'm trying to get at. The next question is, do you read on a Kindle and why? Yes. I love my Kindle more than life itself, because it's just so easy. You're lying in bed, you want to read, but you don't want to hold a physical book, grab your Kindle. It's just so simple. If you fall asleep with it, it's fine. It shuts itself, and it does, and you don't lose where you were, because it keeps it for you. So like, Kindles are honestly one of the best investment I've ever made. I have 2 Kindles and I wouldn't trade them for the world. I read on the Kindle 80% of the time, and another reason why is because they're just so easy to transport. because of the size of them. Like, they're not as heavy as books, obviously. They're not as heavy as that. And they're just easy to transport. So I that's why I read on my Kindle. I absolutely love it. I could not part with my Kindle. The next one was, do I listen to audiobooks? And if so, why? I am not an audio book girly per se, but if it is non-fiction, if it is a memoir or an autobiography and it's narrated by the person telling their story, absolutely I will listen to the audiobook, because I like to hear it from their voice rather than my own. Like, I've listened to now Matthew Perry's memoir on audiobook. I have listened to Jeanette McCurdy's on audiobook. I've listened to Pete Wicks. I have Britney Spears's one ready to go, but I just haven't started it yet. And I'm listening to Chanel Miller's one at the moment. So yeah, I personally don't like audiobooks. Sorry, I'm trying to get these right. I personally don't like audiobooks for actual books. I will not lie, I've tried them. I've been told Daisy Jones and the Six is one of the best audiobooks out there. I tried it. I personally hated it. I didn't enjoy it. Like, every character does get a different voice. Like, it's voiced by like at least 6-7 characters. Like, there's not one person doing a voice, so you kind of distinct it a bit better. But personally, for me, it just isn't great. I don't like hearing people telling me the story of a fictional book. And that's just personal preference. If you like audiobooks for that purpose, that's great. But I personally prefer them for autobiography purposes. So that is that. And then I think I need to... Wait, now, I'm nearly done my mascara and I need to look at the last question, because we are under pressure, guys, to get to Dublin. What is the last question? Would you read non-fiction? If so, which one? A few years ago, I would have said yes, I would have read non-fiction. But now I find it so hard. Like, if I can listen to it on an audiobook and it's the person telling me their story, that is the way I will do it. If it's not narrated by them, then I would... I'm trying to think of a non-fiction book that I have read or considered reading recently, which is probably none. I've very much gone away from non-fiction, because I used to use it as a form of, like, not research, but like getting wider information about certain topics. Like, I used to read books about serial killers. I used to read books written by FBI like investigators and stuff, like John Douglas from the FBI. I used to really want to read their books, but now I don't. Now I really don't want to read non-fiction. I don't want to read it. I'd rather listen to it. So if I can listen to it and there's an option to listen to it, I'm absolutely listening to it. So that is all the questions that I was asked. It's a lot of questions and I'm very happy with them. I'm very happy I got such a good response with questions, and that, like, no one asked kind of the same questions, that all of them were different, because it gave, like, a broader perspective of me as a reader, I guess. And it's nice because there's, like, so many new people and so many new faces coming up, like, interacting with me, that this is like a video where you can kind of get to know me through books. If you would like a get to know me about myself, because I haven't done one since like December, and there's a lot more people here now than there was in December. So if you would like that, then let me know and I'll film that, no problem. But those are all the book chat questions I got. So I am going to go and finish up my makeup, and I will talk to you in a while. Thank you so much, everyone, for all your questions on my video, and I hope this answered some questions and you got to know me a little bit more through listening to my favourite books and all that. And if you want me to do like one about myself or anything like that, then please do let me know and I'll be happy to do that for you. Thanks so much, guys, and like, comment and subscribe, please.